Let's talk the Steelers and the Bills. Now, this is one of those games that is very intriguing. This is a Steelers team that we know started off last season on fire. Prop bets start getting put out by the sports books. Will the Steelers go undefeated? Is this going to be the team that we watch march all the way to the Super Bowl? And then we found out, oh boy, that is not what happened at all. We remember they start 11-0. They lose 5 of their last 6 games. And not only did they lose 5 of the last 6 games, when it was all said and done, we realized that this was actually the second easiest schedule in the entire NFL that they played this past year. And they still lost 5 of the last 6 games. Matt Canada takes over as offensive coordinator there. They're trying to get some things figured out and situated. Now, Marquise Pouncey did retire, so he is not going to be one of the mainstays on that offensive line, is no longer going to be there. If you look at these one-score game metrics here, now doesn't really always tell the story here because sometimes teams can just backdoor into a one-score game and all that. But if you care about that type of stuff, they were 7-2 in one-score games as well. So maybe there's a little bit of regression on that end. People were jumping up and down about them deciding to use their first-round pick on Najee Harris, a running back, whenever we've seen that this is, a running back position that has been devalued a ton over the last 5 or 6 years in the NFL. That said, the Steelers were 30th DVOA running the ball last year, so they thought that this was going to be something that could help them do, which, again, something that this team has traditionally wanted to do, which is run the ball effectively. Now, they lost Mike Hilton and Steven Nelson, cornerbacks. They lost Alejandro Villanueva on the offensive line as well. And of course, they lost Bud Dupree on the defensive side of the ball as well. They do get back Devin Bush from injury, but Bud Dupree, again, one of the better pass rushing guys out there in the NFL. So, Brad, I know you have a play on this one, and it is not on the Steelers. It is on the team that is one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, in the Bills.
Yes. And so, you talked about I think the defense was overrated last year because they faced just an absolute joke of a schedule. It was backup quarterbacks galore. And then when they did face proper teams, and especially ones who could protect, then they just weren't that good because you look at the secondary now, and again, this is another team that's traded away corners, and there's not really much there on paper. Cameron Sutton, the right corner. Joe Hayden is probably the mainstay, and they're going to be relying on him, but he's on the wrong side of 30. So as you say, the pass rush got worse. The secondary isn't very good, and probably one of the worst teams you want to play if you don't have a deep secondary is the Bills, because they will go 4 wide and they are deep at receiver and they will just throw it 75% all day. They're happy to do that. We saw that last year. So I'm pretty confident the Bills are going to move up and down the field. Then the other side of the ball, I just think Roethlisberger is gone at the game. He didn't throw deep at all last year. He was basically the quickest to release it in the NFL. Just 2 seconds, dump it off to his receivers and basically try and let them move the ball rather than make a play himself. And then the offensive line, they're going to be starting rookies at left tackle, a rookie at center, and it's going to be berserk in Buffalo, you would assume, after a couple of years off. They will be through the tables by 9 a.m. Yeah. And by game time, it's going to be loud. These are going to be key parts of the offensive line who probably haven't played with a crowd ever. You've got an immobile quarterback who won't throw the ball downfield and a brand new offense. So I could see it going quite badly and getting quite ugly.
Yeah, I don't have a play on this one. That said, that's not to say I won't by the time it's all said and done. I like the Bills a pretty good amount here in this thing. Haven't pulled the trigger quite yet at 6.5. The total of 48.5 is also a little bit interesting to me. I think that the Bills might score a lot of points in this game, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think there might be a little bit of garbage opportunity for the Steelers. So while I typically would be leaning to unders here in week 1, I do wonder if the Bills don't just come out and put 30-something points on the board here in this thing. And if that's the case, the Steelers are probably good for at least 17 garbage points at some point throughout the game. Steven, I know you don't have a play on this one either, but just some quick thoughts on Steelers and Bills.
Yeah, I don't think you can be hyperbolic too much about the value of continuity for this Bills offense. I mean, they're not just having Josh Allen, who was amazing last year, but Brian Dable stays, who in my opinion is the best offensive coordinator in the league. And then you look at their offense, they literally brought everybody back, and I think maybe upgraded their wide receiver 2 spot to Emmanuel Sanders from John Brown a year ago. So to me, I think that continuity is really important, especially in week 1. So I do agree with you. I think this offense comes out cooking. I initially wondered if this spread was too high, given that last year's game closed with the Bills only being a 2-point favorite in this game towards the end of the year. But I agree with you guys that I think that number was more about just the Steelers' record, and in retrospect, they played a very soft schedule. So they won that game by double digits, the Bills, a year ago towards the end of the year. And I think based on everything you guys said, this number is correct. And if you want to bet the Bills, I would go get it now, because I think there is a chance that it gets up to 7 or 7.5, and then you're going to be in a tougher spot. So 6.5, I think, is a fair number, and get it now if you do like the Bills.